re-election in 2026.
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
The sight of one of the most senior Republican politicians, Mitch McConnell, appearing to freeze yesterday when he was asked a question by a reporter was uncomfortable to watch. Not least because the 81-year-old had experienced a similar episode just over a month ago.
And a string of...
His office said that the senator was momentarily lightheaded and paused during his press conference. But it's nonetheless reignited the debate about age in US political leadership.
She's the oldest president in the history of the United States.
Joe Biden's age has been at the forefront of his presidency since the very beginning, and is even more so now after announcing he plans to run for re-election in 2024.
And so it's a matter of, can you do the job?
The problem for Biden is that while he says he should be judged on his legislative achievements, polls consistently show that Americans, both Republicans and Democrats, are more focused on his age. The latest this week shows that 77% believe Biden is too old to be an effective president for a second term, compared to just over half who think that his main rival, Donald Trump, who is himself no spring chicken at 77, is also too old for the job. So should age be a limiting factor for American politicians? We asked a group of 70-somethings playing pickleball, the game that bills itself as ideal for the young at heart.
There should be an age limit on elected officials. I agree with that. We tend to keep voting in people who are way past their prime. They should be watching from the sidelines. That's how I feel.
And it's a hard trade-off because once you get embedded in the system, you have more power, you have more influence, but on the other hand, you also don't make way for newer ideas and newer people.
No, I think Biden manages his life very well. I think he could go to 85.
I mean, I think 80's a touch old, but I don't know what the limit would be because we also don't want to discriminate against people because of age.
You have to be at least 35 years old to become president, 25 for the House and 30 for the Senate. So there's minimums, but no maximums.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign.
When Ronald Reagan ran for his second term against the younger Democrat Walter Mondale, age was a major campaign issue, and he was only 73. It would lead to one of the most famous comebacks in American political history.
I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
I know I don't look that old, I know. I'm a little under 103.
Joe Biden evidently has taken a leaf out of Reagan's book when it comes to batting off the issue of age.
You say I'm ancient. I say I'm wise.
So will voters see the bicycle-loving president who handles a grueling schedule with aplomb? Or will they see a frail and weary politician who's increasingly showing his age? Ultimately, in a democracy, it's up to them to decide.
Well, Joe Biden or Donald Trump would each become the oldest US president ever to be inaugurated if they win the next election. But there are other old world leaders out there. Top of that list is Cameroon's President Paul Biya. He's a healthy 90 years old. You can see some of the others there as well. And while there's no maximum age in US politics, rather, as you heard Siobhan say there are minimum ages. US senators must be at least 30, and presidents have to be at least 35 years old. In the UK, politicians can also go on and on forever. But there are some jobs that, for physical or mental reasons, do have age limits for workers. Firefighters should retire by the age of 60. International pilots have to stop flying certain routes aged 65. And professors at Oxford University are asked to retire at 68. Judges are made to step down when they are 75. And even in the US, some chief execs and other top-level executives can be made to retire if they are over 65 years old. Now, Trump and Biden are already at least a decade beyond that age and showing no signs of giving up. Well, I'm joined now by Elaine Kmark, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution in the US. So Biden and Trump wouldn't be allowed at their age to fly a plane on certain routes, but they are capable, you think, of running the United States?
Yes, I do. Look, I think that there's some brain studies that people should look at where scientists have identified a group of people called superagers. And these are people whose brains and their abilities are the same as people in their 50s or 60s. And I think it depends on each individual person. As far as we know, Joe Biden is making very good choices as president. And he's up to the job. As far as we know, Donald Trump, some people don't think he's making good choices, but as far as we know, Donald Trump is very much up to the job. He's energetic.
Right.
He's dealing with a lot of things at the same time. So I think it really depends on the individual and not on some arbitrary age.
Isn't, though, politics getting older and therefore less representative? I think the average age of the US Senate is 64 years old.
Well, the Senate has always been an old place, let's face it, okay? That's not anything particularly new. And it takes a lot of time to get to the United States Senate. It takes a lot of time in politics, a lot of time in government. Look, there's something to be said for age. There's something to be said for wisdom, as Joe Biden jokingly said in that White House dinner that you sent a clip of. And so I think that it depends on the individual. It's not an arbitrary thing.
And if this is a fairness question or a let voters decide question, then why have a minimum age? You can't be president if you're under 35, while there's no maximum age.
Well, it goes back to the question of wisdom and experience. Let's face it, for a job that big, a very, very young person probably simply doesn't know enough, hasn't had enough experience in the world to make judgments. Remember, what presidents
do. You really think that?
Or prime ministers, I really think that presidents, prime ministers, et cetera, what they do is they're not out there running around, doing things. They're making judgments. The judgments come from their experience and their wisdom. And that's what you want.
One quick question. Why do Americans perceive this more to be a problem with Biden than Trump when they're both old guys?
They're both old guys. I don't really know the answer to that. I think part of it is that the Trump campaign has from the beginning made this an effort, made a conscious effort to portray Biden as old and feeble, which he's not. So he trips sometimes. So does Trump.
Okay.
So I think partially that's why.
Thank you so much, Elaine K. Mark. I'm afraid we have to leave it there.